Can Carson Beck finally lead his team to a championship? Will Mario Cristobal avoid folding in another do-or-die game as a favorite? To quote Isildur when Elrond tells him to cast the One Ring into the fire? No. Let me tell you why, but first, like and subscribe to ACC Uprising. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch this. My name is Robert Irby, and we will have plenty of great ACC content coming your way, both from myself and from Grant Mitchell. But looking at this game right in front of us, tonight is a pivotal ACC versus SEC matchup in the college football playoff between Miami and Ole Miss. Miami's run so far, very unexpected. They're a 10 seed and they've made it all the way to the semifinal. It's been strong, it's been unexpected, but I believe it ends here tonight. And let me tell you why. It all starts with Carson Beck and Mario Cristobal, the quarterback and head coach, respectively, from Miami. They have had an up and down year with the team playing its best right now. You could argue their start to the year was their best. The middle was rough, and now has been pretty great too. They're kind of coming back into that form that had them ranked as high as number 2 in the nation. But both of these men have been known to crumble when the lights are brightest. Let's start with Carson Beck. He was known to have these implosions in losses while at Georgia, especially in these do or die type of situations, win or go home type of situations. And there are rumors out there that Kirby Smart, Georgia's head coach, pushed Carson Beck out in favor of Gunnar Stockton, aka the quarterback that Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss just outdueled head to head. In their 2 losses this season, Carson Beck combined for 6 interceptions. 6. Almost single-handedly losing both games for his team. That's twice as many interceptions as Trinidad Chambliss has thrown this season, and against 2 very weak opponents in Louisville and SMU. Beck has just been on too nice of a run lately. He's always had bad games just pop up, and it's bound to happen. I believe it happens tonight. Moving on to Mario Cristobal, the good thing about Mario is over the last 2 seasons, this is kind of crazy to believe, but Mario Cristobal has never lost as an underdog the last 2 seasons. Let me say that again. When a team is projected by sportsbooks to beat Miami, they lose. It has happened 3 times this season with their wins over Notre Dame and their 2 college football playoff wins over A&M and Ohio State, respectively. Cristobal, you can hear it in the way he talks, to the press and everything else, that he instills sort of a fighter's mentality in his team. He described at halftime of that Ohio State game, he described that game as a rock fight. And that mentality, that ability to win a rock fight has shown in their 2 college football playoff wins so far. However, it makes me wonder, what happens when you're the hunted, not the hunter? When you're the one on top, not the one scratching and clawing up the mountain. All 5 of Miami's losses in this 2-year span were games in which they were favored, obviously because they've won all the games as underdogs. Their 2 egregious late season losses kept them out of the college football playoff last year when they lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse, and they damn near did it again with those losses to Louisville and SMU. They were this close to getting left out because they lost to inferior opponents. Unfortunately for Miami, they are favored tonight against probably the scrappiest team in this entire tournament. The Rebels have this nobody believes in us, not even our head coach mentality, right? Lane Kiffin didn't even think these guys could win a national championship, so he bailed and went to LSU. But these guys are still here and they're still fighting. And they are carrying these expectations that they have and everything else. They are carrying it all the way to the semifinal, and they believe they can win a national championship. Entering their quarterfinal matchup with Georgia, Ole Miss had the longest odds to win the national championship, even behind Alabama, who got blasted by Indiana. This is a pressure cooker situation for Miami against a team that truly has nothing to lose. Right now the expectations are on Miami. When they played Ohio State in the quarterfinal, No one expected them to win. Now everyone expects them to win. Whereas with Ole Miss, just like they did against Georgia, they are ready to exceed expectations. Call it a last dance, if you will. Now, statistically speaking, this Ole Miss offense is elite. In ESPN's SP Plus ranking, which I believe is probably the most comprehensive way to evaluate a team holistically. It's flawed for sure, but I tend to think it's usually the best metric you can find out there. Ole Miss's offense was the highest rated offense in the entire Power Four and second in the country, meaning they were the best offense in the college football playoff, and it is by far the best offense Miami has faced all season. So because of that, I see this game becoming a shootout. You know, we have Trinidad Chambliss. He's making those video game plays against Georgia last week, and now I think he's going to do more of the same. Miami has the best pass rush in the country. They had Julian Sayin running for his life, but Trinidad Chambliss, when he's running for his life, he still makes plays, as evidenced by the end of that Georgia game. And so because of that, I see this game being a shootout as Chambliss is going to keep making plays with his legs, find guys downfield, and that's going to open things up for Kejuan Lacey, who is probably the best running back left in this tournament. And I see Ole Miss opening up the floodgates on offense. Like I said, nothing to lose. Every big play you can imagine is going to be called. And if it's a shootout, I simply do not trust Carson Beck to make enough plays when it counts. Every single one of Miami's wins against these tough opponents, like the A&M game, was a grind, a 10-3 grind. And Miami's offense was better in points against Ohio State, but still it had its dry spells where Ohio State almost made the comeback. Miami is not suited for a shootout against an offense of this caliber. They just aren't, and especially not with Carson Beck at the helm. So because of that, I'm taking the Rebels money line tonight. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments, and thanks again for watching ACC Uprising.